May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are so honored to welcome a truly inspiring guest. You may know her as the Chief Meteorologist for ABC News, but beyond the forecast and storm coverage, Ginger Zee has a powerful voice in the conversation around mental health. She's the author of Natural Disaster, I Cover Them, I Am One, a raw and courageous memoir where she opens up about her battles about depression, self-doubt, and her healing journey. Ginger has used her platform not just to talk about the weather, but also to weather life's toughest storms, making her the perfect guest for this month of awareness, understanding, and breaking the stigma surrounding mental health. Today, we'll talk about her story, how she's navigated the drastic changes in her life, and how we can all show up for ourselves and others, no matter what the forecast looks like. Please welcome Ginger Zee. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. That's awesome. I love the intro. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. You are an amazing woman, and I can't wait to dive in. First of all, Ginger, you've had such an impressive career, and you're a powerhouse, and not only in the broadcast world, but in the mental health space. And, you've been incredibly open about some of the darkest moments in your life. How did your mental health journey shape your career path and your personal life?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my career was always the part that was shockingly going okay as everything else was not. And so my career was an easy front, and it provided this kind of everything's okay bubble that, most people with any mental anything want to create. And so it allowed me to have, and it's kind of funny because there's a parallel because here you are on TV. So there's supposed to be this glossy, like outside, you know, shield. And it really did go well in many times, surprisingly, when everything at home, in my personal life was spiraling. And so there were so many parallels between when I would go and cover a natural disaster, where it was like, I knew what it felt like, or what I thought it felt like, to lose things and not have things and have, these breakdowns and watch people lose everything right in front of me. But a bit at home, it wasn't easy to show it, right? Like that. And I always say, I wish that we took some notes from natural disaster and how people grieve them and move through them. Because the first part that's so vividly different is you can see it. When someone's home is taken by a tornado, they can't pretend it didn't happen. And so there's a real difference. And I think that's one of the biggest distinctions, and what I started to take away as I started doing my job on the front end and then having these tornadoes of life happen, is I need to let people know that they happened, because you can't have healing without first diving into the actual trauma. And then once we get through that, what's amazing about natural disaster is it's not, you realize usually pretty quickly you're not alone, because your neighbor's house is also gone from said tornado. And so is the neighbor, 2 blocks away. And so there becomes an immediate community. And even people that you've never met before that have lived on your street suddenly are people that you are relying on. And you're saying, hey, what is your insurance doing? How do we get this done? What do we do here? And it's this interweaving. And so taking that and then putting that in the mental health world is like, oh, now I know that other people have had the same tornadoes as me.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do about it? And it's the action of what to do next and the community that surrounds it. So there's been a lot of parallels in my work, and I've learned so much along the way. And I still hope that we can start treating mental health like we treat a disaster or any other trauma.
And speaking of community, you've built such a great community, Ginger. You have a lot of supporters. But as a public figure, were you ever concerned how people might react to your vulnerability when you were?
Oh yeah, no, I think especially at the beginning, this. I won't say I certainly wasn't the first, but I think I was a loud voice and a very public voice very early, because this book is now, I think it'll be 8 years old this fall. And it was pretty shocking, I think, for my bosses to read the first time, and for everyone. And that's kind of what I talk about in that book. And then the follow-up book is, had I not had the circumstances and the support that I do, I don't know if I could have done this. I was, the night before it went to print, I was just in a sweat, waking up in a, like cold sweat, like I'm making a mistake. Everybody's going to know not just how imperfect I am, but like how bad it really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand in that moment, maybe, why I did it. And thankfully, I've got a really helpful and supportive husband who has been along the ride with me. And he said, if you don't do it, you're just going to keep going the same way you always have.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, I mean, as soon as it was out, I realized I did the right thing, and it felt very good and very empowering to write the second book. And I was even, dove even deeper into the trauma and allowing people in, because that vulnerability, first of all, is highly selfish, because I could not have healed to the level that I have healed now without sharing this so publicly. As soon as you take the power away from that thing, that
Mhm.
shame and all the things that you had put in your mental health, you are suddenly, oh my gosh, I'm back, right?
Yep.
Like I have control. All of those things happened. They're part of my story, but now everybody knows,
Yeah.
nobody's going to be coming and blackmailing me with it. That's for sure.
And
Um,
everything's out
but
there.
it's
Yeah.
very hard, it's very hard to be honest with yourself. Very few people can do that. But then when you can be honest with other people, my goodness, I suggest it to everyone. Write your traumas down, write your journey down. And if you feel so inclined, share it with at least one other person. Not everybody has to go hanging their dirty secrets everywhere, but there is something really beautiful about sharing that and finding even small community in it.
And it was really a big part of your healing, not only sharing your story, but actually doing it yourself. It was really also more for you
Oh,
as
yeah.
part of your
And there
healing.
was And it's the consistency of maintenance, because I talk to people about this all the time. So there's a responsibility on my end to follow through.
Yeah.
I can't just say, I can't go and talk and do podcasts and say go to therapy every week and then not go to therapy every week.
Right.
That is the personal trainer of my brain. I work really hard at finding new ways and learning. I'm so not an expert at this, but because I've experienced it and had the privilege of having really great therapy for the last 12 years, I can take that, and like I do climate science or atmospheric science, I can translate that science of mental health and psychology to other people. And I think that is something that was always meant to be part of my story that I didn't realize
Yeah.
until it started happening.
And like your husband said, you have to do it or you're just going to keep thinking what will happen if you didn't do it, right? So
Yeah.
great to have that partnership for sure. And I'm sure the hardest part of this journey is writing it.
Hmm.
Was that the most healing for you? Just, putting you like you said, putting it all on paper. It's been 8 years, right? And you've helped so many people by sharing your story. Was there a specific moment or message from a reader that made you realize the impact of your
Oh
honesty?
my God. Within a few weeks of the book being out, I was getting regular messages that were subject line, "You
Wow.
saved my life."
Wow.
That that's a big
Made it all
statement.
worth it. Made it all
And
worth
it was so worth it, and I still get those because the book still lives on Audible and it still lives in places, and I'll get messages more periodically now, but they'll say, I don't know why I found your book, I don't know how, I don't know. So basically, or I just checked it out at the library, I didn't know what it was, I like the cover, whatever it is. They don't even know what they're going for sometimes, and that speaks to them so much that they then make a choice. And in my book, I start the book by saying, I went to a mental health hospital. Like I went to Columbia's psych ward, and that's what changed my life. And I always say, like, we've gotten to the point in our society where they're cool with saying, I've dealt with depression, or I deal with bouts of anxiety, or I have these things, or even that I see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. People are pretty open about that. I think we have a lot of work yet to do, but the problem then becomes, to me, is about the action. And
it.
we still don't have a whole lot of like, what do we do next? And how do we actually make this okay for the long haul? We can all say we've got some sort of trauma, but we don't know what to do next. And so what I love about the reaction to my book is that people say, you went to the hospital, so I went to the hospital.
Wow.
In a physical illness, it would be obvious. We've all grown up. If you see somebody on the side of the road, they broke their leg, you're like, let me take you to the hospital. Right now, when somebody comes to us and they say, I'm dealing with a lot and I really don't know what to do next, I'll tell you right now, that person cannot get themselves to the help that they need. And
Right.
so we need, as a society and friend groups and all these things, to say, we know what to do next here.
Right.
If it's to this level and you're having suicidal thoughts, the hospital is there for a reason. And if
Mhm.
I had not gone at that time, and I should have gone years earlier, had I not gone at that time, first of all, my life would have been at risk. I
Mhm.
think I don't know that I could have gotten much lower than I was. And so I didn't understand how much healing could have come from getting the right type of help and really getting the right diagnosis. And that's what helped me propel me into the right direction. Because finally, what I had been doing before, and this is what a lot of people do, is they don't get a proper diagnosis. They
Mm,
say, I'm dealing with this or I'm doing that. And then your insurance is all over the place. And you're like, I don't know, it's like picking out of a hat a rando person that, happens to fit in your insurance. And you get the wrong type of therapy for the
mm,
trauma or for the mental health crisis that you were having. And so
yeah.
a lot of people go to talk therapy when really they need what I've done, which is DBT therapy. There's
Mhm.
all different types. And I liken this to like if you had a sinus infection and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I went to like an ankle guy that works on like ankle surgeries. That's what we're doing in mental health. The people that are getting help a lot of times aren't getting the right kind. So I
Mhm.
think to me, the hospital is a great kind of centrifuge of saying, okay, here's where this person's at. I was able to be watched for days instead of an hour. I
Right.
was able to really be seen by people who do this for a living. And then they were able to say, and here's what you have, and here's who can help you.
Mhm.
Done.
Right.
It just
Right.
should be that easy, but it
Right.
isn't always. So that's what meant the most is that people finally took that action that they were so afraid to take in the first place.
And for someone like yourself, you're a public figure. I mean, to be out and saying that I checked in a mental hospital, like,
Yeah.
that's huge. Like
Well,
that's
that's
not.
the thing is I kind of got turned, but we say depression, we say anxiety, we say all these psychologists, psychiatrists, but the moment you still say I checked into a psych ward, people's eyebrows are like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
really?" There's something wrong with that somehow, which that needs to stop.
We're not
If we
we're not
say
there yet, clearly. We're not
we're
there yet.
not there yet, but I think that's where if we can get to that place where people understand that it's just like any other illness that you go and you get the right type of help for.
Yeah,
It's like saying someone went to rehabilitation for drugs or alcohol. Right
exactly.
now, if somebody says that, we're all like, good for them,
Right.
and
Right.
and then
And
that's
honestly, like it sounds like it's just you're going to therapy, you're getting treatment for it. So yes, it's
yeah,
in an institution, but you're getting the help you need. So yeah, we're not definitely not there yet. And it sure helps to have people like yourself and your for using your platform to really normalize this. But I think we have a long way, don't you think?
absolutely. And we also have a long way in the privilege of access to this care.
Yeah.
Here I was in New York City where we have access to this type of thing. You go anywhere rural, you have to drive hours before you can get to a place who can be that centrifuge and then get you to the right help. So
Plus cost. Not everybody has health insurance.
and then the cost, and that's the biggest barrier is the cost because most of the specialized therapy that a lot of people do need to break for me to have a personality disorder that could be helped, you have to pay somebody who knows what they're doing, and that costs a lot of money. And
Mhm.
so we are not only the access, but yes, the financial support to be able to do it, and then the societal/family support, because I think that's the other big barrier is that you might be ready, you might have even told somebody in your life, but then your grandparent or your parent or your sibling is like, "What are you doing? You
Yeah.
don't need to do." Like there's this kind of negative reaction to it from someone intimate, and that stops a lot of people too.
Right, right. And Ginger, in our industry, if you've been at this for a while, it's rare for someone like yourself. You've been at this for so long and you're in the field, but to this day, you're still out there chasing storms and you're traveling all the time.
Yeah.
You're just all over the place. One day, you're in Mississippi chasing storms, and then you're in the studio. You were diagnosed with narcolepsy early in your
Mhm.
life. And is this still impacting you to this day?
Yeah, well, so I've actually been
Those
on
who don't know narcolepsy, can you guys just give us a little brief about what that
yeah,
is?
narcolepsy is a sleeping disorder that you have excessive daytime sleepiness. Sometimes, depending on the type of narcolepsy you have cataplexy, which is a form of basically like kind of collapsing to different things. It's a neurologic issue, and so it's something but it definitely impacts that one baseline that everybody needs, and that is sleep.
Mm.
So mental health without sleep is really hard to have tip top health. Sleep is the foundation of everything we do. So it definitely impacted me more than I knew. My getting on medication for it and being on medication for more than 2 decades definitely impacts me. And now this is something I haven't even talked about because I've had a recent sleep study and now I have a doctor who's questioning because he thinks I have a different sleeping disorder that I've been basically mistreated for the last couple of decades.
Um,
One way or another, my sleep is imperfect and it
right.
is not like others people's sleep. And so that is something that I have over time, and with mental health, I always make like the pyramid, and sleep is the true foundation. It has to be there, or else I cannot be the healthiest mental, you know, person that I can be.
Right.
Physical activity is up there, nutrition is obviously up there, all of the really boring basics, but sleep's that one. So yes, it has definitely impacted me.
So it still affects you to this day, even with the medication you're saying.
Oh yeah, yes.
Wow. And you know your job is such a high pressure job and high visibility. Like how do you even manage your mental well-being now and staying so busy? So what I
Yep.
love about what you said was you constantly still have to check in. You were diagnosed, but you still
Mhm.
have to do the maintenance and the work,
Yeah.
you know? So it doesn't stop when you get diagnosed. So you just have to keep at it. And like you said, you were misdiagnosed. Is that what you said?
With the narcolepsy. Well, I
Okay.
don't know. We're still working through
Still
that. But like,
figuring it out. Yeah.
yeah,
But
on
you're
narcolepsy.
maintaining
But
this lifestyle, but how do you maintain this, manage all this
yeah,
while staying so busy?
that is hard. I mean, I'm all I first of all, I'm like everybody else. I have a to-do list that's endless that I still never get done. I think I do my best. What I've learned to do probably better over the last decade, especially with watching my mental health get better, is that I prioritize. And so I'm much better at saying, I know I can't be everywhere at every time. I know I can't be the best in every single section of life at the same time. And the word balance is what a lot of people will ask, and I think that's like this is a tough, that's not a good word.
Right.
um, it's prioritizing, and so I prioritize the thing that I know, and making sure that I have prioritized my health and well-being, is it has to be first, or else I cannot be the parent I want to be, or the wife I want to be, or the career, have the career that I want. So all of those things, and I'm not perfect at this. There are times I fail pretty splendidly, and in all of those departments. But I think that I do have a bit more understanding, both for myself and for others, because I've had to let those expectations become softer, and be more gracious, both
Yeah.
for me and for other people, because I this is normal in life. A lot of perfectionists and things, they have this high level of what they expect from everybody else, including themselves. It's like, well, that isn't really how life works, So it's just the wisdom, maybe, in the age of also allowing that to be, and just saying, well, today this is about as good as it's going to get, and
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And really, we hear this, but in practicing it is more important. And I've learned this through meditation and yoga. I would say the most is that, um, living with the suck when it does suck is okay, right? Like we have this weird human thing that everything needs to feel good all the time. And
Mhm.
like that's doesn't make any sense. It would be like it being sunny every single day. The earth wouldn't be the earth. We wouldn't have the dynamic atmosphere that changes and keeps us alive. You cannot be at this steady state, high level,
Mhm.
crazy happy. The pursuit of happiness in this country is maybe needs to be reworded. It's like the pursuit, and I say it's the pursuit of peace with all of the emotions that are inevitable. And
Yeah.
so pursuing that peace with, so this moment feels crap and I don't feel
Mm.
good, and that didn't feel good, and I feel jealous, and I have this moment, and I have this, that's what I'm trying to encourage in my young boys, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm learning myself for the first time in life.
Yeah. And Ginger, you're just so, I just love how you're so authentic on your social media. You put yourself out there, you've built this community, and you're helping so many people. First of all, are you managing your own social media? I'm just curious because how do you even do that? Like you're just all over
Well,
the place
I'll
and
tell you right now,
posting
I'm terrible at
consistently.
TikTok. I just can't get into it. I'm like, because I used to be able to make up one place and then share. I'm not all the way there. But yes, the other stuff I
So
try
you're
to
the
set
one that
us.
actually manages your Instagram, for
Yep.
example.
Yeah,
And
that's all me. Yeah,
that's
it's a
you're
lot.
posting you're posting consistently. I'm like, how does she even do this? Like,
The
you
whole
said
job,
you're
right?
journaling, you're keeping us updated with what's going on, with work and personal life, with
Yeah.
everything about you, which is pretty incredible. I guess this is part of you holding yourself accountable as well, because you've built this community. So do you feel
Mhm.
that sense of responsibility to
Oh, yeah.
to keep up
I
with it?
I feel that, but I also think, I'm trying to use social media for the thing that it's supposed to be for, and that is to share information and to allow um, things that you wouldn't naturally have seen, maybe, or maybe you did see them on TV, but maybe you didn't. It's like that combination of things. And I have found that the reaction and interaction, whether the people were watching it on television or not watching it, that interaction and engagement is like nothing else. And so for the positive part of it, I think there is a really great community that can be built. There's a lot of negative, but I try, just like the negative emotions. I'm like, cool, they're here. And then next, like
Just
just
keep going.
drive right on through. Yes.
You keep going and you're doing it for yourself too. Um,
Yep.
Ginger, our podcast focuses on helping people navigate change and discover tools to not just survive, but truly thrive. And you're such a powerful example of this, Ginger. Change is, as we know, it's often uncomfortable and scary. So, what practices or perspectives help ground you when life feels uncertain or overwhelming?
I I always go back to the words you used, because a lot of times when I say to myself, "Ooh, that's scary," or we're changing buildings. This is just a very surface example, but we've been in Times Square at this studio for I don't know how many years, 30 years, something, and we as humans also, we're very like nesty. We attach to things and places, and we have great memories, and we have all of these things. And I will say that the vibe around here right now is anxious, nervous. Oh my gosh, we're all moving. This is crazy. Da, 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 da. I think I'm kind of prone to this, but I am a flipper of that. And I'm always like, what's the new thing going to bring? Like if you flip that the words in your mind and you say, what are the opportunities out there? You'll hear like workout coaches say like you get to instead of I have to, or I got to finish this run or whatever. No, I get to finish this run. And it sounds a little cheesy while you're trying to sprint and like
Yeah.
get it done, but
Yeah.
it actually works in circumstances like this.
Switching your mindset, basically.
You just switch a word or two, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, we get to have a new studio where we get to have the opportunity to be a part of how we're building it, and what this next evolution of what we do is going to look. It's going to look a lot different. It's going
Yeah.
to feel a lot different. But
Yeah.
how can I have some energy into that would bring us to a good place once we get there? It's like,
Love it.
again, that's kind of a surface, but it is a huge, it's what we do every single day here. And it's top of mind because everybody's talking about it. And the human thing is to be like, oh, can't we just stay here? It's just so much easier to just do what we've always done. And
Be
like,
comfortable, right? That's the easiest way, just to be comfortable.
be comfortable. That would be the sunny day every day
Yeah.
thing. And that's just not it.
It's not
There
real.
will always be something. So I think changing those words. And then I do set up a practice of gratitude every morning. It's so overdone. People talk about gratitude journals and whatever. And I haven't gotten into like the writing of a journal, but I do make sure every morning to set kind of an intention and have a moment of gratitude every single day. And that does just launch me into a different mindset from the jump. I also, it doesn't have to be like rainbows and sunshine in it. It can be something based in reality, or it really is a check-in too with myself, because so few people do ask themselves how they're doing, right? Like we wake up, we hit the ground, we run, and we never even say like, what do I feel?
Mm,
What can I do about that? Like, do I like how I feel right now, and
yeah.
what's leading to that? So I do that in the morning, and I try to then say, and here's, I get to today have this
Yeah.
intention, and then what a difference just that little switch of the steering wheel can make in your day.
It's a game changer, really. And I love that. Just switching your mindset, it can change everything. Like I do this in the mornings as well. Just being thankful, starting with gratitude. Thank
Yep.
you for letting me wake up today. That's a big
Yeah.
deal. And
But sometimes, and I just, to be totally real, sometimes I do my gratitude. I write my stuff down I write it on the shower. And then afterward, I'm still like, crap, I feel terrible. This is going to happen today, or I'm worried about this today. And then that's when I allow it. And I'm like, you know what? And I always ask myself though, when I have those negative emotions, am I going to remember this next
right.
week? Because a lot of times it's something that I am not going to remember.
Yeah.
And if it's a feeling of overwhelm, which a lot of us get ourselves to, is that I have so much to do and I can't, it feels like I can't do it all and I'm needed for too many people. I also ask myself, and who can help? Like,
Mm,
how do we delegate and get that energy spread out.
Right. You don't
Because
want to just take it on yourself. You want
and
to,
we do that so naturally. That is such a big part. And no wonder you're feeling like, change or this next evolution
yeah,
can't happen because you have too many things that are like the anchoring you in place and you can't evolve.
yeah.
So being good at delegating and finding that team or that help around you, we all
Mhm.
have it. It's just we don't always employ them.
Right. Yeah. And not recognizing in your case, your family, your husband, like you said, is a big
Oh
support.
yeah.
Was there a moment in your life where you went through a difficult change and you were led to unexpected growth? Because I know you've shared a lot of things in your memoir, like,
Mhm.
you were very open about the rape incident that happened
Mhm.
on in your life. And at the same time, there was something beautiful happening after following that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, a specific change that led to an unexpected growth?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are many in a career within my career. Um, but I'm trying to think if in my personal life, if there's something that's more, like deep to the core of like, who changed or what changed who I am instead of like what I became.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think, and this is like a very the friendship changes, I think maybe is the thing that I could talk about that in the moment of like you can have these. My mom always told me that's kind of saying that is said all the time, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mhm.
And that kind of speaks to what we were just saying, is that first of all, nothing's constant and forever, right? Like you can't live like that or put too much expectation on other people.
Yeah.
But I have had dear friendships that have evolved. I'll
Mhm.
use that word. And
Yeah.
that was there, that was, and I think people tell you about romantic relationships and how to change. And we're all very like, oh gosh, you had a bad breakup. And we talk a lot about that and how to get through it and what the next thing is. And there's all the fish in the sea and there's all this stuff. I don't know if people talk about friendship the same
Mhm.
way. I don't think that we're prepared for that, nor are we told enough that
Mhm.
these things are supposed to change and they're supposed to. So I think what the evolution of within my closest group of friends and how we grew both
Mhm.
apart and together made me a much stronger person. And meditation helped a lot with this
Oh,
in understanding that the constant should never be expected, right? That we have to realize that,
things
and that's
change.
not, and things change, and that's okay. I think I put so much hurt and pain or guilt or all of the things that could come along with a relationship ending that is not a romantic relationship without the coaching or support
Right.
of what that looks like in the future. And there are times still where I will desperately miss having friendship,
Mm,
that type of friendship. And
right.
also childhood slash young friendship. I don't know if well, I know you can't recreate it because
Mhm.
never in your life are you so given to this other person because there's nothing else going on.
Mhm.
Then we all develop our own lives and we, have families and we have a different type of friendship. And I know as a parent, I'm going to be talking about this a lot more with my boys because I just feel like I still mourn that and I still have these moments where I'm like, but then it wouldn't fit. I'm not
Yeah.
spending the night at my best friend's house and having
Yeah.
like peace
Sleepover
kids.
parties.
Mommy's gonna go sleep over. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
make any
Not
sense.
gonna happen.
But how do you grow through that with having still the same support and the thing that was so beautiful about your friendship? That's
Right.
something that changed me a lot and and it still isn't perfect. Like I said, there's so many times where I still hit that wall and I'm like, what am I feeling right now? And
Right.
I'm so at peace with so much of the rest of my life, but I don't have that camaraderie or depth of friendship that
Mhm.
I did.
You find, Ginger, that as you grow old, I know that this, in my case, as I grew older, that the group gets smaller and smaller,
Hmm.
and I'm focusing more on the quality, not the quantity of the
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, you have to because you also just don't have the time that you could
No.
dedicate to each other.
Yeah. So,
Um, but like we say, date night, and this is where and then you'll hear people say, "Oh, I had to get a girls' weekend in, I had to get a girls' night," and but I don't know that we prioritize it. And I don't think that we put it as,
You
that
prioritize
community.
it?
I don't, and I should, right? Like but that's one of
Hard.
those.
It's hard to prioritize with everything going on in life and
Mhm.
children and,
But
career.
but it's striking how much I feel it sometimes, where I will just have this void or this moment of like,
Mm.
and then at the same time, this is like very pertinent. I developing new friendships at this layer of life is like, do I really want to? It takes so much effort, right? Like people say that all the time, but
Especially
I
in New
will
York.
say,
Especially in New York. It's
especially in New
hard
York.
to make friends there.
Yeah, but I had two women who are our boys are friends at school, and we've definitely done sports and all this stuff. And they're already so good about kind of including me and asking me. A lot of times I can't because of work, but tomorrow night I'm actually going to a dinner with
Oh,
women. Yes.
nice.
And going, so like I have made a choice. Like I'm going to be exhausted. I'm going to be all the things, but I'm like, I know I need it. And I know that this needs to be important. So it's like doing
Yeah.
the things that you don't always, think you need. And then you get there and you're like, yes, this
Yeah.
was it. And
Yeah. And then
so,
you feel good doing it after, right? This,
yeah, I hope so. I hope that that starts to, and maybe, just maybe, this tale of you can't have friends as you're older thing that I've told myself is wrong.
yeah.
Maybe that is wrong, and it has helped me evolve. So we'll have to check in later about that.
For sure. Yeah. Let me know how that goes, that girls' night that you have. But I find Ginger too that, again, it's just it's the hardest finding that time because of everything going on.
Mhm.
And yeah, you just have to you have to do it. You have to keep going. And like you said, you got to prioritize it. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So
And really, it's so silly too, because you look through your day and where are we spending that time? Having face to face conversations with other humans is not where many of us spend our time. And
no.
we see productivity behind a screen because that's what we've been taught. But I think reframing those words and saying, no, it's going to be really productive for me to try to foster or develop some sort of root in the
Yeah.
place that I live and the place that I share common bonds in our kids.
Mhm.
Like that, why I haven't watered and seeded that as much as I should. Instead, I thought, oh, sitting behind a screen and doing more and more and more and more and more work is important. Maybe I'll take the night off, right, of social media and of
Yeah.
and be
It's the hustle culture. It can get to you. It's quite addicting, and you have to just like figure it out how to stop it. I also find, Ginger, that the most meaningful friendships that I have are the ones who are okay to be apart for
yeah.
with no communication. So my most
Yep.
meaningful ones are the ones I haven't seen for a long time, and we stay in touch. We text here and there and check in, but we don't have to see each other all the time, and and that's okay too. You don't have to like hang
Yeah.
out every day, to have a meaningful relationship. So, and
No,
these,
those are the best. I still have one of my best friends from middle school who we just, we text every other week or every week. We text here and there, but it's like to have a phone call, it doesn't have to happen once a
yeah,
month or,
no,
so, and then you just kind of do the catch up. And then when you do see each other in person once, maybe twice a year at best, because we live in different places, it makes it even more special, which
yeah.
is kind of nice. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for young people, Ginger, especially young women who see you as a role model, what message do you have for them? And what hope do you have that they take away from your story?
Well, in the book, and that's what I say it all the time, but I like to remind people of a chapter name that sounds terrible from someone who was depressed for a long time, but it really doesn't matter and nobody cares is kind of
Oh, I
something that
love
I,
it. So true. Nobody
yeah,
cares at the end of the day.
nobody cares. We are all in our own little silo so hard that a lot of times we think other people are doing things either manipulatively or they're coming at me and they're doing this. In career that happens a lot. And
Mhm.
it took me a long time to realize not only do they not care, but it's actually worse. Like they're not doing this on purpose. They're just not thinking about me.
Nope.
There's zero care. And
Yeah.
if you need them to care, you got to let them know. And you
Yeah.
have to be an advocate for yourself, whether it's in your
Mhm.
career or your friendship or your relationship or whatever. That communication is really important because a lot of times we live in our little own drama world where our movie's going on and all
Yeah.
the characters have all these plots, but like they don't. They're
Yeah.
in their own movie and they just happen to be running their movie next to ours.
Yeah.
And that is, gosh, I wish I would have learned that earlier, both in life and career. Because half the time I thought I was very like self-centered that way, and that's very normal when you're young, is to think that the whole world is kind of interacting for you, and it's like,
Right.
no, they're not.
You.
No. And then the it really doesn't matter. That is the thing that is on you, is that check-in that I do with myself is like, am I going to remember this next week? Am I losing sleep right now for something that I'm going to care about a year from now? If the answer is yes, then I am allowed to lose sleep. I'm allowed to say this feels terrible. I'm allowed to sit in that.
Yeah.
But if I'm not going to, I need to realize how silly it is and be
Mhm.
like, okay, because I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I don't remember much.
Mhm.
Like,
Exactly.
and most people
Exactly.
that lose sleep, if you think about, in the last couple of weeks, I'm sure there's a moment where you were tensed up or you couldn't sleep or you were really worried about something. And now you're like, what was that?
Yeah. What was
That
that?
is, yes, that
Yeah.
is, if you can catch yourself in that moment, of realizing what the reality of what you're thinking about and worrying about and all of
Mhm.
those wasted circles we go in because we
Yeah.
love to run. We're just little
Yeah.
hamsters all the time in our own brains.
It's
Um,
the culture
and
too.
that's normal. And to realize that that's normal, it's a normal thing, but that in meditation called monkey brain, a lot of times where you have that kind of repeat thing, it just keeps coming back and swinging back in your face. And you're like, okay, that's a nice thought. I'm going to go ahead and let that go because otherwise you're going to be plagued with it. It's going to sit in there like festering for no reason.
Right, right. I've
Yeah.
learned over the years, Ginger, just to, ask myself, what are you permitting to come through? If I'm
Yeah.
permitting this negative energy to come through to me, then I will feel it. But if I'm
Yeah.
blocking that and I'm just allowing the positive, then you know what I mean? We have that power to select what can affect us and what, shouldn't. So
And
to
then to own the
protect
parts that
mental health.
and then to own the parts of when you've made a mistake, and that was always really hard for me, especially in careers, when I would get things wrong or I didn't know things. I was so afraid of that. And so as you get older, everyone's like, I know less as I get older. And I think that wisdom of realize, if you can realize that sooner, that you're not supposed to know it all, that actually other people love when you ask questions because they want to share the human experience just like you do, and they might actually have something to teach you even though they seem like they're coming at you and doing whatever it is. In my first couple jobs, there were so many other people, women, men, at these places that I thought I should have just said, hey, can you help me? I
Yeah,
have this question.
I love
Right
that.
away, that would have broken down this fake barrier that I thought was up and this
Mhm.
thing for my side of it. And I think doing that with all parts of life, of just saying, hey, help me out, I don't get it, is the
Right.
most endearing, truthful, wonderful thing to be able to do because then we can all learn from each other.
And it's humility too, right? And I also,
Yeah.
as I get older, I'm 45, by the way, and I feel like just being selective with, people who has access to you, I think is very
Yeah.
important. And surrounding yourself with people with the same energy is one way of protecting my mental health. I don't know about you, but what are some of the tools, your go-to tools to protect your mental health?
Yes, I use the fence all the time. The fence is what I say. I mentally put up a fence when other people have some sort of energy or some negativity that I used to be a big absorber. I used to be like, oh my gosh, I would dive right in and I would spiral right on down with them and like go into the deep hole of what
Yeah,
was happening. I've gotten much better about being like, okay, I can be empathetic to the fact that somebody's on the other side of this fence that I just put up and that they're having a time.
yeah.
I can even open the gate and reach through and be like, hey, are you okay? Can I help you out? But
Mhm.
like to allow that into my side of the fence is not necessary. I don't need to do that, even with intimate relationships, even with my husband when he has anger or frustration. That is something that I think keeps us very healthy. Is I'm able to be, of course, I'm not going to leave him over on his side of the fence,
Yeah,
dying over there, but I'm gonna be, and I'm in a much safer place to help then because then I can be the one that's in this constant or in this place of like, okay, I see where we are, and he can help me on the other end when it's
right.
inevitably flipped. So I use that fence all the time.
Mhm.
For my mental well-being is just to kind of separate those emotions. And it started, and I always give social media a big um, kind of positive. This was the positive that came out of it for me. I learned it because I was like the origin of Twitter. It was when I was in a big market and I was getting like so much hate that I had never felt anything like that.
How do you
And
tune out the noise? Right?
how do you do that? But
Hard.
they taught me very quickly something that I should have known in my real life. And that was to have my sense of identity built separately from other people's opinions and emotions and all of the things that they have. It's wonderful that they have that on their side. And
Right.
it's really interesting that they felt the need to share that with me. But it doesn't have to impact what I feel about the core of who I am. If
Mm-hmm.
there's legitimate criticism and I'm always open, that's why that gate can be opened and I can allow for that through. Cool. But
Hmm.
most of the time, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I had to develop
Sometimes
that.
the
Oh,
constructive, there's the
yeah,
constructive feedback and then there's the hate. So you've
yeah.
learned how to separate that and what can affect you, what do you, you take in and what you just ignore,
And
basically. You
people call
learn
it
how to
thick
do that.
skin, but it's a fence. It's
Yeah.
really more of like a, permeable fence, I guess. It's something that you can allow through. And you have to do that in real life as well. So thankfully, the just massive amounts of Twitter hate that I got for years allowed me to develop this weird kind of tool of life, and it's been nice.
Are you still on Twitter? Because a lot of people have left Twitter.
Yeah, I use it as an example because that was like where the main thing. I still use it. There's a lot of weather data that's still kind
Oh,
of it's tough. But I use all the other ones. I'm doing threads, and I like that a lot. And I've
mhm.
tried Blue Sky a little bit. I need to get back on there, but that's that. Unfortunately, the National Weather Service had finally gotten to a place where they were utilizing Twitter a lot.
Right.
And so with my job, that is where a lot of data comes through still, and
You have to be there.
you're not getting it anywhere else. And so and I don't think right now anything is going to change. I don't know what's going to be the future of it, but for that reason, I probably will just for at least for purveyor of information from those offices. And that's my entire feed. That's the funny part too, is most of what I follow on any of the social media as the person who's taking in is so different than most people's algorithms.
Yeah.
Mine, you would look through mine and laugh. I mean, there's nobody's on
All the
vacation. Nobody
funny
has like this,
videos.
no funny videos. All it is climate science. It's a bunch of scientists and graphs and charts and
Oh, right.
a lot of facts. And so,
Are
like,
you kidding me? Not even like recipes or like,
it did for a little bit because during the pandemic, I was doing more of like searching of that. But right
uh,
now, if you were to look through, the things that come up that you don't want are always things I do want. And I'm like, really? Is somebody doing an article on, solid state lithium batteries? And like,
but what about fashion? Like you talk so much about fashion and you post fashion photos.
I get a lot of, because I do the no new clothes. So I get
Yeah,
a lot of
I need
fashion
to
waste.
talk to you about that. That is
Yeah.
so interesting, especially in my industry, our industry here,
Yeah.
being on television or public figure. Like I've had this, it gets so expensive, but when you go to an event, you get photographed, you don't want to wear that again. Typically, that's how it is. But tell us about this, what you're doing about this
Yeah.
snow. What is it
It'll
called?
be 3 years in June that I have not purchased any new item of clothing. And
Right.
so,
And let's
or
be
shoes.
real, as a TV personality, we do get budgets for clothing.
You might have, we do not.
Oh, you
Um,
don't? Okay. Yeah,
nope,
I got a clothing, but I'm shocked. I'm not going to
nope.
air this. I'm going to edit it, but
No, you should air it.
oh, okay.
No station I have ever worked at has ever given me a clothing budget. So
Got
that is not in
clothing.
American television, not something that we get.
I am shocked. I'm blown away. So we got a
Yeah,
clothing allowance, like my hair, my everything,
nope,
makeup, everything.
none,
I would just expense everything. Seriously? ABC.
none.
Oh, wow. Oh my, I'm blown.
So, yeah, no, everywhere I've ever
But it
worked has
comes
always
out of your
been all,
pocket. So it makes sense that you're doing this
yeah,
initiative.
I mean, it wasn't a financial decision. I mean, it has helped financially for sure.
Oh,
I will say
sure.
it's very helpful. But it was really more first about the social aspect, as I learned so much about who is making our clothing and basically how 95% of the workers around the world are women who are being mistreated really badly, not just the type that you might think, but worth a Google of who's making your clothes and what they're being put through to do so,
Absolutely.
and what choices they've had to make to do that. I read a couple of books that really put me in a different state of mind. I knew there was an environmental toll. I didn't realize to the level of what my choices were even making on an individual side. And so I took what this group called Remake Our World, and they're wonderful. If you want to go take a 3-month challenge. They did the research, the psychology of how long it takes to change someone's habits. And they said, take this 3-month challenge where you buy no new things, no new clothes, and tell me how you feel after. And throughout it, they give you tips, unsubscribe from this. And what it really makes you realize is how manipulated you've been into thinking that you need all of these things, how consumerism and capitalism has really pushed us to this place of weird, in fashion specifically, of a weird place where when we were children,
Mm,
we went shopping for school clothes, and then we maybe got a nice new spring item or something for the summer. And
mm,
we were marketed to 4 times a year for different seasons.
mhm,
Fast forward only a decade, you likely had most of the stores giving you 100 new styles a year.
mhm, mhm.
Fast forward to today, there are millions a day being marketed toward people every single day. So the ramp up in actual psychology, like if you go to the way base of it, Freud is one of his family members is at the root of why we buy what we buy in clothing.
Mhm.
And they have basically made you think you need a new
Right.
outfit.
Yeah.
Then they paired it with, by the way, we've abused all these people for so many years to make it so cheap, so you can. And
That's
so
fast fashion is horrible,
and
honestly.
it's not just fast fashion. Now it's beyond fast fashion because fast fashion was like the 2000s. That was like
Yeah.
what had come in when it was 160 new or maybe 1,000 new a year. We are in the millions. It's to this really weird place where it's a spiral to the very bottom of what humanity can be. And fashion is this like harbinger. It's like the symbol of how bad consumerism can get.
Mhm.
And so to take a stand in those 3 months, it not only reframed my brain for fashion, but it reframed how I look at everything, at
Absolutely.
how I'm being manipulated by becoming a
It's the
consumer
marketing. It's the
and
marketing.
marketing. It's so powerful. And so what's neat about this is it changes your habit, but it makes me even with this job, if I have an event that I really want to try something new for or have something fresh, I will rent because I live in New York City and we have many
Renting is great.
opportunities, and
I love
renting is wonderful.
it.
And then thankfully, consignment and secondhand has become so much easier and so much more accessible online. There are some really wonderful sites that don't cost a fortune to get this item. And what I keep in my mind and what I tell people all the time is there are so many clothes on the planet right now. We wouldn't need to make them for like centuries.
Yeah.
There are enough for all of us forever. This
Mhm.
circular economy, and if we can share and become and stop the front end of needing more and more and more and more and more, it
Mhm.
is going to be a huge benefit to the planet, to those people, because there are, people worry, oh, they won't have jobs then. Right now, if you look and, like I said, do your own research of who's doing what and who's making your clothing, you do not want them to have this job. I
Mhm.
promise.
Yeah.
Um,
And it
I
makes
think,
it more worthwhile too. Like if I'm purchasing something, I mean, and I'm giving someone my money, it's worth finding out, well, how did you make it? Did you have to go through,
yep,
legal things to make this clothing and I'm paying you for it? You know what
we
I mean?
care now about our food. People have gotten much smarter about where did my food come from and what's in it. Like we're very into the ingredients and we care, which is awesome. We can do that for our clothes.
Yeah.
We're going to take another. So it's not that I love fashion. I think it's exciting. But now that I haven't had it for 3 years, for the item that I'm going to really need, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to be able to support a brand that's doing the right thing, that
Yeah.
is treating people correctly, because I didn't buy a bunch of t-shirts that were $8.
Yeah.
And I have all of that money over the last 3 years, right? And I say this from a place of privilege where I had lots of clothes in my closet to go on, but a lot of people do.
Mm,
So I'm not that unique,
right.
in the fact
There's
that
something
most
in there. There's something in there. I'm finding this. Since I followed you, honestly, you've inspired me to just dig in. You'll find
yeah
something.
find something that you own already. I mean,
There,
you
but
see
there
behind
is
me.
still that marketing, thing that's getting in your head. Well, you know what? I've been photographed with this. I've worn this a few times. I need something new. But
Yeah, no,
how do we stop that thinking?
we
We
just
need something new.
pride. We have pride in wearing it again, and so that's what I've been trying to do. I've got one dress that I've worn like 15 times over the last decade, and in different times on TV, and then I've got events that I've worn it to. So now it's like the brag should be, do you know how many times I've worn this? Do you
Yeah.
know how
You
well
did
I've been
this.
able to
You
keep it?
posted something
Yeah.
about this. Like I think it was a period of 1 week uh
Hmm.
for the same thing or
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
pieces.
Same piece. Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter at the end of the day what you wore because you're still doing an amazing job and
Yeah.
you're staying true to who you are. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter what's on you and you look fabulous. So
Thank you.
that was um that was a great experiment, a very challenging one, and it's not easy for someone like me to do. But
I
I'm
know you can. They start it in June again. So remake, if you do, just do the 3 month challenge. I think you will shock yourself.
okay. But
I
you
think
haven't bought anything for 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
Ow.
So, and I should preface this because people get really weird. They're like, you didn't buy underwear. I have bought underwear once. I'm
Okay.
not a monster. I'm talking about things that are like,
Gown, the dresses when you go to events, and the
well,
work
no, just everyday clothes too. I haven't
everyday
bought everyday
clothes too.
clothes. I
Yeah.
have not bought sneakers. I have not bought, I bought secondhand heels, one pair of secondhand heels, like secondhand you're able to buy, but I'm still on this trend. And the only thing I'm in need of, and this is just because elasticity is not there,
Yeah.
is my bathing suits. I'm on it,
Uh,
but my next door neighbor here, and this is the other part, you can lean on friends. Lara was saying she's got so many that she either wore once or hasn't worn. And she's like, I don't want to wear them anymore. I'm going to bring you
yeah.
a bag. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to break my streak.
And you know what else can what good can come out of this as well as, for me, I have a lot of clothes in my closet, but they're, smaller. So
Yeah.
it'll hold me accountable to maintain my weight
Yes.
so
That's
that I
funny.
can just, but in being in perimenopause, it's so hard.
I
Seriously.
know. Same.
But before
I'm
I let
sorry.
you go, Ginger, I have to talk to you about Dancing with the Stars because I am a huge fan of the show.
Yeah.
How did this even happen? I mean, you finished third place, season
Mhm.
22. That's
Yeah.
insane. Like that is a huge accomplishment. Like, where did the dancing come from? It's out of nowhere.
I had a great coach. I actually saw
Oh,
Niall
dancing
DeMarco.
is one of the best, right?
Yeah, Niall this morning was here, who was the winner of my season, and he was just so unbelievable. So it was nice to see him. He's got a new movie out. But that dancing journey was something I thought I was going to do a couple years before that. I
Mhm.
had done an event for GMA on like learn to dance with Derek Huff just to do the open GMA while we were out there for the Oscars,
Gosh, it's amazing.
and it went really well. And I think Derek went and told their casting people,
Oh,
"Hey,
that's how it started.
you should have Ginger on the show." Well, they asked me to do that next season with Derek, and it just, the timing didn't work. The whole thing didn't work. And they kind of, I felt like gave up. And I was so bummed. I was like, oh,
Uh,
that would have been so fun because I'd never danced like that. I had done
and
some
that's
competitive
what
cheer.
blows my mind. Like,
Yeah.
how did you, so when you did that with Derek, were you comfortable? Did you do,
No,
or you just, was he blown away? He was like, okay, we got to get you on the show.
think he just knew, okay, this woman could learn how to move. We could
Right.
push her around and learn how to move, and it would be fun.
You have
And
to be
so,
coordinated, Ginger, to
yeah,
to dance like that. That's
but
amazing.
to learn the beautiful art of dancing, I learned so much in a short 12 weeks and was able to like really come, and it makes you, it evolves who you are. I know it's way heavy to say about a dancing show, but it's true because it
Oh,
breaks you down to the very base of not knowing something, and then you grow and everybody watches you along the way. And it was
yep.
one of my favorite things I've done, hardest but favorite things I've done for
Yeah,
sure.
and the beauty about that is you document the journey, right?
Yeah.
As you keep going each episode and what you're going through. So what did that teach yourself both physically and emotionally, that
I was
experience?
so glad that I had done the show when I did, because even had I done it, had I tried to do it years earlier before I had gotten the type of therapy I needed, and I don't know that I would have been as successful because it is just as much mental as it is incredibly physical. You
Yeah.
have to be gracious with yourself. You have to be able to see yourself fail pretty horribly,
Yeah.
and fall physically and mentally. And it's your ability to get through to that next place,
Yeah.
and your coach, like my Val was he's a great coach, but he's really hard. And so I don't know that I would have been taking the criticism that he had well at a different point in my life.
I
So
know,
I
but
think it
you
was the
adapted
perfect.
well though, and you adapted well to his training. It was
Oh,
incredible.
and he knows, he's done this with many people. He knew what to do, how hard to push, where to push. And he always says he loved me and my season because he learned so much about himself. Because other people, some other people had been like, well, F you, like they were like, I don't want to listen to you. Or they
Oh, yeah.
just like shut down when he would get to that place, or they would bawl and cry. And they would, so I was one of the first people who he felt like was like pushing to the right place and level. And then I wouldn't let him get past this. And we had such a good back and forth. And he always says he enjoyed that as well. Like it helped him grow. So that's the thing is you're, nose to nose with this person for 4 months and you've never known them before. But we were instrumental in that time in our lives. So it was really nice to have
It was
that
a great
relationship.
partnership. Yeah, it was a great
Yes.
match, basically.
Yep. And to have the support. My husband was like so supportive and wonderful, but also so interested because he's like, I can't do that, right? Like a lot of people feel like I can't. I guarantee you, anybody goes with one of these pros, you dance better than you ever thought you could. They are so. It's about 20% you and like 80% them.
Oh my gosh. And do you still watch the show to
Oh,
this
of
day?
course. Yeah. They're all friends still. I really, it's like going to camp, like really intense camp. So it never really leaves you. And I would do it again tomorrow in a heartbeat. It
Speaking of
really is
never,
such a beautiful
speaking
thing.
of never leaving you, Ginger, I think you should keep dancing. Are you still going to continue? Are you ever
I
going to
do.
return to the dance floor? Like, what are you doing?
Val has several places around New York City, and I've taken lessons kind of with one of their
Oh,
pro
great.
people there, and it's just fun to get in there when I can. It's hard to be consistent about it. That's what I've missed out on. But it once it's in your body, it's like riding a bike, though.
Right.
Like you start, and now I wish. Oh gosh, it's been almost a decade. If I went back, I think I'd know how to be more grounded. I think I've been studying it more, right? Like prior to that show, I really didn't know what I was doing. I've learned a lot. So it would be fun and anytime I get a chance to go to one of his Dance With Me studios, I try.
Oh my gosh, I would die to be in his class. My daughter's a dancer. She's a professional dancer.
Oh,
I
fun.
showed her your video and she was just blown away. She's like, no dance experience? Like, nope, because she's
Yeah,
trained
crazy.
professional. So that was such an accomplishment. So Ginger, between chasing storms, raising a family, advocating for mental health, how do you define success for yourself today?
I think success is that peace,
Mm,
finding the peace with all of it. So wherever you're at in all of these places, it's peace.
yeah,
And sometimes I used to think it was goal setting and, list achieving and, getting through those things. And those feel good and that's great. But if I can feel good even in the bad times, or not good, if I can feel at peace even when things are not going great, and I can get through them without such extreme lack of emotional regulation, which is what I used to not be able to do, I feel like I've succeeded.
amazing. And it's such a simple word, yet so complex to achieve.
Yes.
It's the hardest to achieve peace. To for someone to ask you, "Are you at peace?" That's a loaded question. Ginger, are
Hmm.
you at peace in your life right now?
No, but I'm always pursuing it.
Right. It's the pursuit of peace instead of pursuit of happiness. I love that. I have to end with a quick rapid fire question. You've been so amazing. I really appreciate your time. Is that okay if we do a quick rapid
Yeah,
fire?
if the computer dies, I'm so sorry. It's just I don't
Don't
have a
be.
thing in here.
Oh, it's just a rapid fire question. So, your go-to reality show.
Oh, gosh, I love them all, but I'll do dancing because we just were talking about it.
Right, right. And your favorite dish to cook for the family.
Oh, I have a salmon dish that has like a pomegranate and Brussels sprout.
Ooh, yeah, recipe on social media? Yeah, you share
Yes, I've shared it. Yep.
some. Do you prefer online shopping or going to the store?
Neither.
Oh yeah,
Because
because
I
you
don't
don't
shop.
shop anymore.
No, I actually, if I do shop secondhand, I find it easiest to do it online. So I use the real here and there. And if I need something, then I'm getting it secondhand.
Here's a business idea for you. I think you should open either a rental company or a consignment store. I think
Yep,
that's in line with,
I
what
agree.
you like. We'll talk about that later. We need more in Toronto. Your favorite music artist?
Right now, I'm so basic. Benson Boone.
Oh, Sinbin. Okay, okay. And your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, so many. Um,
The biggest one.
chewing chewing loudly, like at work.
And
You,
like,
everybody's got to just keep their mouth together. You know what I'm saying?
totally. Your top three albums on Spotify.
Oh, right now Benson Boone's in there. I always have like soundtracks, but I don't have Spotify, so I'm trying to think what I even have. I
Or what
don't listen to in front of,
albums do you listen to? Or do you
yeah,
have a music playlist?
I do. I'm just saying, if I look right now, it's either all over the board because I'm always trying new things, or it's like what my kids are listening to because that's what I'm playing in the car. And so they'll be like, "Hey, mom, can you play?" Like I'm looking right now. And and lately I've been listening to the Monkees. Like I grew up with jukeboxes, so
Okay.
anything from like the 50s or Motown, I listen to a lot of that. Oh, and on my playlist right now because my son for his project at the end of the year is Mozart, so we have a lot of that.
Lauder Mozart. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And favorite movie of all time, last one.
Oh, The Goonies.
The
It still
Goonies.
stands. Yep, I have such a connection to it, and the fact that they're all together and thinking about doing it together again, I cannot believe it might happen in my lifetime.
Ginger, I can't thank you enough for sharing your journey. Canadians need to know more about your story, your journey. I know it will resonate with a lot of people here, and I'm so grateful for giving the time and energy. I know you're very busy,
Of
but
course.
you're an incredible role model. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you, Christina, and good luck and congrats on your change. I love this.
Thank you so much. Luxury innovation and German engineering, Liebherr sets the standard for premium refrigeration. Designed for performance and precision, Liebherr appliances offer advanced cooling technology, sleek designs, and unmatched reliability. Whether it's for a wine storage solution, column-style cooling, built-in, freestanding, or under counter, Liebherr delivers the ultimate freshness experience for your kitchen. Discover the excellence of Liebherr refrigeration today. Visit ela.ca to learn more. Evolve Media offers premium video production services specializing in creating high-impact content for brands, events, and commercials. From concept to execution, we craft engaging visual narratives that resonate with your target audience. We have teams in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and Calgary, and in today's digital-first world, video content is more important than ever. It's the most effective way to capture attention, build brand loyalty, and drive conversions. You can email us at info@evolvemagazine.ca to get a custom quote. Thank you so much for watching and listening in. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to share with you our next guest. But for now, I hope you can follow and subscribe. Thanks for your support.